Welcome everyone to episode 1, season 2 of Modcast VR, the official podcast of the Flat VR modding community. I'm Dr. Greg VR, and this is my co-host VRAN. Say hi, VRAN.
Hi.
There we go. And we are really excited today because we have with us from our returning guest. We had him on our very first show, and we now have Elliott Tate from the Flat VR modding community with us. How you doing, Elliott?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, I got your name right this time. I don't think I've called you
Yeah.
Brian since that first show, so we're good.
You just doxed me.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I did it before, so you know.
people know.
All right, this is great. Today, what we're planning on doing, I usually have this a lot more organized format-wise, but I just have a list of things because we're going to reminisce a little bit about the year that was 2022 because. We were on, VRAN and I don't know if you saw, we were on, was it Virtual Strangers? Is that the name of the? Is that the name of the
Virtual
podcast?
Strangers.
With Lethal Weasel and, Wes and all that. And so we were on there, and that's what we were doing, was talking about how 2022 was the year of the mod. I mean, that if you're looking at any big story in VR, really, in 2022, I mean, I'm probably biased on this, but for me, it's the mods.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
for most people, they want to forget 2022.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole 2021, 22. Let's just skip over it. But modding wise, it's amazing what's come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what started this, really.
Yeah, that's why we started. Because
That's what
I mean,
started
we were
this.
like, that's all we're playing. That's all we're playing is modded games, and that's
Yeah.
still pretty much all I play. I guess I streamed Dead Space yesterday, but I'm hoping for a mod for that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The curse of every time you play a game, you're like, but what would this be like in VR? Like, how much better would it be if I could just look around the corner and
Oh my gosh,
see it in 3D? And,
I found myself doing that last night. I'm sitting here, and I'm so used to Luke's mods where you look to aim and everything, and so I'm trying to do that, and I'm like, why isn't the cursor moving? It's like, or I'd move my head around.
You playing your game, and you're like, why is your head moving?
Yeah, exactly.
How you play games? You're like, you have no idea.
Yeah, that's how I play games. I had to check for this thing. I actually sent Luke an email earlier this morning. I didn't know if he'd get back to me. It doesn't look like he did. So just wanted to know if he wanted to give us any. He probably wouldn't anyway because he never does that. But I wanted to see if he would give us any sneak peeks of what might be coming. Because really,
Yeah.
I think two big games have just come out that I think are no-brainers for Luke are The Witcher 3. Just because, he's already modded the Red Engine with Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
so I would hope
I know he said before he really wanted to do that. So.
Well, wasn't that like the most requested game on his list? I think.
It was up there. Yeah, I think it was up there.
Yeah, and then of course Dead Space, and I think we actually asked him about Dead Space when we had him that interview with him.
Yeah.
And he was basically, well, I'm always going to wait for the new version.
For the remake.
Well, it's out now, so we're going to hold him to it. No pressure, Luke.
Yeah.
All right.
He's not doing anything, right?
No, nothing.
It's in Twiddle
Nothing.
Systems. Yeah,
AER2.
Have you guys gotten a chance to play with AR2 much?
I have played a lot with Final Fantasy. I've almost beat Final Fantasy VII with it.
Nice.
And it's
With it.
a
Yeah.
game changer.
Yeah.
I cannot get over. There are times I'm sitting there, I was like, damn, this is even prettier than some of PRAYDOG's mods. It just looks so good, especially 4090. If you have an RTX 4090 computer, if you're fortunate enough, I personally can't recommend them enough especially if you're really into VR, because it has completely changed my VR game as far as how good you can get those games running and looking, and yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish they were a little cheaper, but
Yeah.
I do love mine.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
really expensive, but this is my thoughts on it. This is something I was going to talk about anyway for 2022. So let's
23.
just do it. But now for 2022, as far as things that happened, like the RTX 4090, you know, somebody asked me yesterday on my stream, they were like, what do you think is more important for clarity in VR, the headset or the GPU? At least in my experience, I think GPU is a big, big thing.
Yeah.
There's so many things in VR. It's like, you get better one angle, then it's bottlenecked by the other, and you make these different steps. Yeah, super sampling beyond the native res really does wonders. Even in a lower res, you can still squeeze a lot out of it.
Oh yeah, that
res headset.
What is it? Widescreen. What'd you call the flawless widescreen program that we're using on you had
on Final Fantasy
pointed me toward in Final Fantasy VII. Wow, that made a big difference.
Yeah.
But
even on your previous stream on Thursday, you upscaled through Vorpex. And it made a huge difference on.
Yeah, because I was gonna stream the original Dead Space for a comparison for the next day when I was gonna, and I, for the life of me, could not get it to work on my new computer. I went through like all of these different things, several different solutions, because apparently it's really hard to get that game to run on new operating systems. And
EA did that on purpose. They're like, "Oh man, you have to pay $70 to upgrade." Oh darn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I tried for 3 hours going back, and and then Brand started shooting me all this stuff. I'm like, no, I've done all of that, and we just kept trying, and we couldn't get. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do Black Mesa, because it was one game I had uploaded or installed on the computer. I was like, I'll just do Black Mesa. I haven't played it in a while. I wanted to, and I got in, and then I upgraded with the resolution with the in the mod itself, or in the Vortex itself, and it made a massive difference. Before, I had to shrink the window down. I had to decrease the image zoom to have decent looking graphics on my old system, but with this one, it could easily handle just bumping it all the way up. It's like native VR, except for the image flicker on the gun. That's still there, but I don't notice it.
You might want to hold off on playing Black Mesa.
Is something coming? I think you've told me that before, though. That was last.
Well, I don't know if it did, but so there is a version that they released before they made it a commercial product, where they remade all the levels. It doesn't have what's the last chapter? The Xeno.
The Zen.
The Zen. Yeah. Doesn't have that, but it has basically the entire game that they did, and kind of gave it out on, what is it, ModDB, and so that was actually built for the normal Half-Life 2 version. So Ashok has been working on that and converting that, reworking some of the broken AI when importing into Half-Life 2 VR, and so just finished like a first pass where the whole game right now is playable with Half-Life 2 VR.
Wow.
So he does have a beta of that.
That is awesome news.
And stuff, but
yeah.
So pretty much the entire game right now is playable with that. So yeah, he's going to keep working on that.
Sweet. Well, that is really cool. I'm still probably going to play it because I'm having fun. So
sure.
Yeah. I forgot how amazing that game is. It's just beautiful. And it's just so much fun, action-packed. And it works, like I said, it works flawlessly in Vortex. The only thing that you have is a little flicker with the guns. And, of course, the guns and everything look massive. I mean, I know you can turn them off, but it just doesn't feel right not having a gun, or, like, hearing the animation for your crowbar flying but not seeing anything. It's like that.
Which happened to you on the stream.
Yeah, I was like, where's my stuff? I don't understand. Where's my guns? All right, well, we found them. All right.
I've seen that there's a Half-Life 2 mod. I've seen a couple streamers with the VR version where people in the Twitch stream, like in the chat, can actually spawn stuff. So like before you get the Half-Life, like before you get the crowbar or something like that, if people donate enough, they can like spawn a head crab in there, and it makes them for some hilarious streams.
That's pretty awesome.
You should try that.
Yeah. Well, I don't do Twitch.
They'll start freaking out like, what do I do? I don't have anything. They're like running around the room trying to dodge it. It's fun.
Okay, so 2022. God, what a year. We started off with my personal all-time favorite game ever. It was Cyberpunk 2077 from Luke. I think that was in January, one of the very first games. Once again, 4090 has made all the difference there. I've got a great video on that. I'll maybe put a link in the description on how to optimize that game. You really bump up the resolution in that game. I can't take it quite all the way. I think with AER.
This is before AER.
This is before AER2, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be coming in a couple weeks. So I've been talking to him about that a lot.
We might be able to do ray tracing and still hit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with what it did with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, one of the things I love about AER2, I know we're going to go back to that, is that I was able to take my index off and put my Rift S back on. I'm still getting 160 frames per second in the headset. And for a game like that where you're sitting for long periods of time, the index for me is still just not comfortable enough. My face, I'm constantly adjusting it. It hurts my forehead. It hurts my cheekbones. You know, I'm top strap doing stuff with that all the time. And but the Rift S is just so light and comfortable. Yeah. But, you know, AER2 allows you to have these beautiful experiences even on a lower end headset like the Rift S. So that's pretty cool. And so I'm really looking forward to that with Cyberpunk too. Also, when I'm streaming, you know, I can't use, for whatever reason, whenever I'm using got like Steam VR with Luke's mods, I can't get this chat window to show up. I mean, I could get them pinned in the VR, but as soon as Luke's mod starts with Steam VR, it goes away. I can't get in there. With Oculus, on the other hand, I can do that. So,
Okay.
But we had that. So Cyberpunk was amazing. Have you played through that whole game in VR with Luke's mod now?
Yeah, it's one of my. Was that to Fran? I mean, that's one of my.
I was actually looking at you, but
he knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He knows my stance on that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It feels like it was made for VR.
Oh God,
you go through it, and I actually didn't play flat, but even some of the cutscenes where you're like, this is really immersive and interesting. I was thinking I might actually be bored if I was just watching it on a flat screen, but just being able to like feel like you're talking to these people, and it suddenly makes the story more interesting.
Oh God, yes.
There's just so much more to kind of take in and immerse yourself in that world. One of the places where it
really hit me was when you go into Lizzie's at the beginning to meet Evelyn, and you go into that little room and there's the stripper on the table, the hologram, and she's in there and she just lights her she lights her cigarette, you know, and then she just kind of walks over and sits by you, and you're sitting on that thing, and it's just you just feel like you are in this incredible movie, you know, and because the acting and everything is so good in that game. I love it.
Yeah, and I find myself in if an NPC talks to me and they're talking, I find myself that I'm actually looking around while they're talking, and I'm like, I'm in the room with them, kind of like when we have a conversation, and sometimes you kind of look away for a second, and it's just there, and it's so believable. There's something so believable about it.
Yeah.
I
think that'll be fun with eye tracking. Devs could do a bit with that, where if you start looking away, they'll be like, "Hey, are you listening to me?"
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Or stop looking at my tits.
That's something that actually Dr. Greg VR suggested when we talked to. Who did we talk to? And you said about the AI and ChatGPT.
Yeah, we were talking to FM Pone about that. Yeah, about putting. Talking about using something like ChatGPT, attaching that to the NPCs, so that you could have like real conversations with them. You know, the technology has a little bit to go as far as to be able to get up to speed that you'd need for that to feel natural and fluid, but I think that's a possibility.
The potential for games in the future is exciting.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
it is.
You have that side of things, and then even game creation where you can. I mean, already now, like Unreal Engine is super nice for creating kind of templates for landscapes you want, procedurally generating more kind of in that area. But I think you'll be able to kind of create, 5 things and then turn that into 50, with AI stretching that. And so it'll really help even indie devs be able to get a lot more with their small teams. And
Yeah. Just think about asset creation.
yeah.
AI could do a lot of that for you. So it's crazy to see how fast that stuff is moving. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane. The leaps and bounds it's taken just the last couple of years, just in like art generation. Still
Yeah.
can't do hands, but
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Why?
there you go.
It looks right. Looks very
It's
right.
a hand.
You can squint your eyes. You can.
Hey, hands are hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Then the next thing, the other two things we had that happened right at the beginning of last year was PRAYDOG's mods, the RE mods. I think that's actually the first time I ever talked to you, Elliott, is when I was streaming Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I think that just had come out. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had it the day before it launched, and
okay. Yeah.
so that's when I was streaming it, and just to try to get ahead. And then Brand had a video that just freaking blew up. Some magazine bought or picked it up and posted it, and you have like 17,000 views on that or something like that.
Yeah,
For us, that's blowing up.
Yeah, for us it's like it's for us
That's
it's
little
big.
guys.
I was like,
Yeah, that's awesome.
because I made
I was jealous. I even told him, I
him
was like, dude, I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, I had to install it, and that went semi-viral, not real viral.
Not
but
real viral, no.
For me, it was like, oh my god, Greg,
Yeah.
kids.
Randral? No, there's a pun somewhere in there.
Yeah.
VR Randral. I don't know. Moving on.
Yeah.
So that was PRAYDOG basically just doing magic, showing what's possible. And then he comes out with the Unreal.
Yes.
Which I think will be the biggest thing the VR modding community has ever seen.
I think it's going to be the
It's
biggest
ever
thing
seen.
VR has seen for a long
Yeah.
time. I
It's
think
gonna
it's as
change.
big as the
It's-
Quest 2.
Already I've gotten multiple like actual developers reaching out like, hey, can you try it on my game?
That's
Like
awesome.
this is, I think even the potential of just devs trying their game in VR and saying like, hey, this actually works well. I'm hoping more devs will try it out, see how well it works, and actually make an official mode and help push things from the official side too. Because I think especially with PlayStation VR 2 coming out, there's just going to be a lot of demand for good quality games in VR, and if this can help show just how close you can be to an experience, and then put some more work, get motion controls and that kind of thing in it, but just how well the game does work.
Yeah, I can't imagine like a developer, like even guys at CDPR or something like Cyberpunk, if they haven't tried it or whatever, and then all of a sudden they go in and they see what their game could be. It's just no
I mean,
comparison.
I can't go back to flat when I've tried it, and so
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine them
Sure.
saying like, I'm okay with just not going this direction, because it is such a game changer.
Yeah.
And I think accessibility has been tough just because not everybody has a 4090, and so it's hard to go mainstream with. But with the PSVR 2, that's essentially like a RTX 3060, I think, around that. So I think 3060, maybe 3070, I'm not sure, but it's around that range. So if you're targeting like a PC game, that's already at the high end of like what you could actually expect from a PC owner to have. So you would at least try to support much lower than that. But that being kind of that, they at least have that power because it's PlayStation 5. I think it's going to open the door to devs being a bit more free with what they target, and hopefully those same games will get PC VR ports too.
Do you think? As I say, I want to know. I'm wondering how much they're going to adopt the ability to just even do hybrid games, just something like where you could be in VR and sit and play with your gamepad type games.
I was really curious because I think there was a rumor that went out. A couple of news sources said that like PlayStation is getting into the hybrid game. Did you hear anything about that? I
Well,
mean,
they had talked
it was like
about
a
it.
news story that went around, and I was like, where did this actually come from? So
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
hunted it
talked about it at the
down, and then-
beginning.
but it actually, I think, was mostly a mistranslation. Unfortunately, I found the source of what they
Oh.
were talking about, and it was at one of the GDC talking about one of their compatibility layers and just what could happen with like being able to also have a VR mode to your game, but it wasn't necessarily Sony saying we're gonna invest money and push developers to do this. It's just this is an option if you want to also do what it sounds like Resident Evil 4 having the VR content. I mean, I hope I'm wrong because I would love to see more of that too. But I think some of that was something that people kind of ran with in the wrong direction, and it wasn't exactly backed by what was actually said there. But
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, because they said, well, this was actually on the official thing with Resident Evil 4, when they were doing the when they were the first launch trailer. It said down at the bottom something about the PSVR 2, but I think it said something more like a PSVR 2 experience. I don't. So I'm wondering.
That one says content. What is it? PSVR 2 content or something along the lines of it could be. I wonder too. Some people were wondering, is it just Oculus has a exclusive on that, and then once that runs out, then they could be like, hey, here's the full like game in VR 2, and they just can't say it right now, or
I don't know.
Maybe it's just the mercenary mode, and that's all we get.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I'm thinking. It's gonna be
RE4
like
VR.
it's gonna be like a mini game or something in the game. Because I haven't seen anything, and you would think by now, because it's going to be out in a couple months, wasn't it? In March? Is that when, or March or April? I can't remember when it's coming out. But I mean, you would think they would have like a first person.
When did RE4 come out for Oculus?
Oh gosh,
If they had like a year
April,
exclusive or something, I wonder if.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an April release.
In April that would run out.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay, we are producing. I mean,
yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could do it third person VR, but I would think that, since they already did first person for Resident Evil with the Oculus, I think they would want to do that, or with the Quest. I think they would want to do that with.
I mean, they were throwing in third person on all their first person games too, so it's not crazy to think they would then later add like a first person mode back in our third person game.
Yeah,
we'll see.
See what happens. That's what I'm really interested in. My very first experience really with Resident Evil 4 was the VR game on the Quest. And I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun. God, that game is so fast paced and just action. I loved it. Not your typical RE game, at least not what I knew,
but at least PRAYDOG has already said he plans on supporting it when it comes out.
Oh so yeah, I kind of figured that would be a no-brainer too.
Yeah.
Since he already has the framework, it probably wouldn't take too much for him to get that up and running.
Well, for the normal person, it would.
Yeah, but PRAYDOG, he's like, he probably just thinks about it.
He's not human.
I don't think he is. I think he's an AI.
Very, very likely.
But Luke Ross too. I think he's also an AI. I listen to you and Luke go back and forth in that one email chain that we're in, and I'm like, I have no idea what these guys are talking about. It's like,
I just know a fraction of. They're digging into stuff that, I mean, even Nvidia themselves. I was talking last week to them about some stuff. I was curious if the Remix, the new modding platform, we saw Portal come out with that.
Oh yeah.
I was just asking like, what's the VR potential with that? Could we actually build a VR mod with that? So Nvidia was really cool. Had me talk to a bunch of the people working on it. Unfortunately, right now it doesn't sound like that. You can actually import any of the games that work with that back into Omniverse and see the world in VR, but it's just not playable at that point. But that could be something that's like modded on top of Omniverse to add VR support, and that would support anything Omniverse does, like anything Remix does. So that could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so they saw some of like what Pure Dark is doing with DLSS.
Yes,
like
I was going to
adding
ask you
into
about that.
games, and they're just blown away. I think they might even try to hook him up and try to get him a copy of the DLSS 3 SDK early.
That should be out
but
any
yeah.
time now, shouldn't it? DLSS 3?
Yeah, so yeah, they said it's since it's the first to market as far as like a frame generation, they are being very careful of who they give it out to. They said so far every game that's added it has actually been an Nvidia employee that's like helped one-on-one, hands-on add it to their game. So they're not at the point they're just like giving it out yet, but they are looking at especially Pure Dark's work and seeing if maybe they can kind of partner with him to at least
the cat.
trust him with it in their hands. I think the cat's pulling stuff.
Yes, they're being assholes.
I need to get one of those cool shirts. VR Modcast.
Yeah, the Modcast VR. It's in a merch store.
Ah, I need to get one. Cool.
Yeah, see, we even got mugs.
Just have a boring old cup.
Well, I also have the bottle of Dimensions here, which you usually see a green bottle, but when I do this, it's going to be the bottle of Dimensions because I've got a green screen behind.
Dimensions?
Yes, I use this when I stream all the time, and since it's green and I always have the green screen on, it always just looks like an orange cap. But I'm
that's fun. Invisible drink.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that DLSS. Now I know I saw you saying something about that with Resident Evil 2. I've seen some video. That's not included in the mod though, right? That's not there yet.
Not yet. So he ran into a few stability issues and has just been pretty busy with the Unreal Engine. I think he kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit because DLSS is hard to get working. You need a pretty tight integration to the actual game itself. You need motion vectors, which is kind of the data version of where things are moving so you can make calculations better, and then that depth buffer, which is what you use ran for 3D, like the reshade 3D. So it has calculations where things are, so you can calculate lighting and that kind of stuff, but it's used for the frame generation also of, if you're moving, here's what it looks like in 3D space, and you can calculate those things better. And then it needs something called jitter, where it's constantly moving back and forth, so it can actually see like where a curve or where a line is on something, to know how to process the. It's sort of it's a version of like TAA, which is the newer version of that, to use like temporal data. So it's like the frame before, to know how to calculate that. But if you're doing things like jitter and having more information about that, you can then say, here's this line, exactly where it is. I should smooth it here and not just add grease over the whole scene. That's what some bad implementations just look like. It's like a smear of Vaseline over the screen. But it very smartly like targets the areas that need it and then doesn't hit other areas. So it is harder to implement. And that's what's really impressive of what Pure Dark has done. And actually, I didn't know. So Luke Ross was kind of the first to even dig into it. So his fix for Red Dead Redemption 2 was actually really digging into the depths of how DLSS 2 works. And then because when it's doing alternate eye rendering, since it's temporal, since it uses like the previous frame to decide how to do all its calculations on that one frame, if the screen adjusted when it does alternate eye, then it's using false data, like it's not using the right data to make that calculation for the next one. So you have to split it, so it's like only calculating on every other frame for that right eye, and then only calculating for every other frame on the left eye, and then it's able to properly do it. So that takes even a deeper. He said he didn't wish it on his worst enemy the way he did it.
I was talking to him about that, and he said something about how, especially with Red Dead 2, he had to do that for pretty much every object in the game. It was different for every object.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
you're doing all kinds of things. Yeah, so that's kind of how complex it can be. Pure Dark has done some amazing things. I think we'll see more ability to, like, PRAYDOG already understood the RE engine pretty well, so he was able to know kind of where data is coming from, how to grab those motion vectors and that kind of thing. And then I think we could possibly see like maybe a universal Unreal Engine or a universal Unity, just because the engine should work mostly the same. I think theoretically that would be possible. Something even PRAYDOG said he might look into, on his free time.
Yeah.
When that first checklist and when it releases, he wasn't going to wait till to even look into that first. But because engines share similarities, and once he's already that knowledgeable about the inner workings of the engine.
So you just be able to use it for any engine? Because that would be pretty incredible.
Any engine, no.
Okay.
Yeah. That's back to where I said, even like right now for DLSS 3 implementation, like they said no developer has just like added it themselves. They're Nvidia is having to like one-on-one help like add it and work with them in the source code.
I had read, was it Luke was saying something about, I think with his AER2, how it's going to actually work with DLSS 3 because he didn't touch DLSS 3 or something like that. But I maybe
say that. I think
I can't remember exact. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more complicated if you're doing alternate eye rendering, and then that previous frame was a generated frame, then you're not actually going to get an accurate of what should be like on the right eye, because it would be in between the two. So I'm not actually sure that could work. I think theoretically, like implementation, kind of like what he did for Red Dead Redemption, if it knew the alternating frames like 1 and 3, he could still have his method, and then you built like DLSS 3 on top of that, and it actually knew like here's the right eyes, here's the left eyes, and it's like all 1, 3, 5, 7, like it counted alternately to just process on those. Like, theoretically that would be possible. I think he was just saying, since it's a different technology, like stuff like that in theory could work.
That'd be interesting.
Out of the box, like his Spider-Man mod doesn't work with the frame generation. The DLSS 3 frame generation, those don't work together right now. So I think it would just be more work.
I never tested after this latest mod. I never tested on my 2080 Super Final Fantasy VII with alternating eye rendering. Did he get that hammered out now, so it's working with lower end cards?
Yeah, I
need to try that again, because I was not working at all for me when Beardo Benjo was having the same problem with Spider-Man on his 4090, and I was talking to him about it, and we were having the exact same problem that I was having on my 2080 Super, where it would just bog down the frame rates really bad, and there was a lot of screen tearing and graphical distortions everywhere and big black boxes around everything. And but I think you had said something in the email chain about it possibly being the LED lights from the motherboard, some type of
that was actually specific to me. I was kind of like saying it's amazing how these niche things but can cause issues. Actually, for the longest time, it was horrible performance, and then it was the LED light system on my motherboard that controlled the lighting that was just screwing with it somehow. And then I looked, and apparently a ton of other people were saying the same thing with other like games. But yeah, it's just kind of pointing to the complications of when you're trying to build something that's so complex and working against so many things, and then you release it to the world with so many different setups. Like people have different setups.
Yeah.
One little thing, like who would have ever thought the LED system on it
Right.
would be the cause of the problem? But then, sure enough, like that was it. Yeah, that's what's hard, and I think some of like what Luke Ross is fighting against are these hard limits. Like when you have frame times, you have only a certain amount of time to generate a whole frame, to hit the frame rate in time before like you start moving your head, and it just everything's delayed, and it's just a horrible experience. It'll kind of make you sick in VR. So like PC VR, or sorry, just normal like PC gaming, you can be a little bit more generous by allowing longer frame times without there's just a bit more latency when you're playing, and that's fine. In VR, you really notice that a bit more. And so like the process of AR2, if your frame times are too long, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose, because like it's very laggy feeling. Even if it is generating like 90 frames per second, if the lag is there, then that's not good either. So you have to, I don't know, it is a very complex thing, because you have the frame times have to be low enough, plus you're hitting the frame rate that you want to. And like most compositors, if the frame time gets too high, it'll just cut it in half. Like if you're at 90 hertz, it'll just jump it and hard lock it at 45 frames per second, even if you don't have like motion smoothing or anything on, just because it knows that is a bad experience if you've got those like crazy adding that much latency to the headset. But
Yeah.
anyway, he's all that to say, he's doing magic, like trying to attempt to tackle that from that end, and it really is a game changer when it works. And I've seen that in my games. It's a world of difference. Like
it doesn't feel
so
like
smooth.
AR at all. It does not.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
that I'll notice occasionally, and I think this is that illusion that you see with it, because it doesn't show up on my recordings, but I'll see it, was every now and again I'll see that a little bit of that extra
Aura.
Yeah, and it's like but you hardly ever see it. Especially the only time it really stands out is if you're in really bright lit areas, like you're outside. But like if you're in a dark area, you don't see it at all. Everything feels so solid and real. Especially after we did all those fixes and tweaks from the guide that you put out, and then I just made a video kind of explaining it. Really changed it. Changed it, because the FSR or the AER2. When I did it without all of that stuff, it made a huge difference. You could feel how smooth everything was, but everything felt like kind of flattish and not real. It did something that changed the graphics. I can't really describe it, but it just didn't feel quite right. And then when we did all those different tweaks and got that resolution way up, and then put in the reshade, and did the changes there, it's beautiful now.
Cool.
So, yeah.
It's a really cool game. Yeah.
It is.
I didn't think I would like it. I never... I played like a Final Fantasy Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 3 maybe. Anyway, it was one of the originals, and that was fun. I never really got into it, but I've been very like sucked in. It's really fun. They did a really good job with like real time battles, and then you can also play kind of the equivalent of turn-based too, where you're working all your spells and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love the combination of the two systems with that game. They really nailed it, because I mean, even though I'm just a huge fanboy of the original game. I've played through that one so many times, and I love that turn-based battle. But with this one, when you get in there and you've got all of the action with it, it's a really nice way to keep you involved in the battles. Yeah. And and after you really get it down, you realize you still have that time when you're pausing and you're looking at your spells, and you can still have all that time to strategize how you're going to do things and who you're going to use. It's really, really cool.
It's a good mix.
Yeah.
Have you played it, Fran?
No, I'm not I haven't
He's
played
not weeby
Final
enough.
Fantasy VII. Yeah, I am not. And, turn-based, I'm not. I'm not a big fan of turn-based.
You might be surprised if you actually dug into
I
it, because
know.
that
I
system,
might.
it like has enough, like you were saying, it has enough of it, but then
Combination.
has enough kind of that non-step action where people that would just be bored normally,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we're all ADD in this conversation. Like, give me fast action.
That's right.
But
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Is we all turn ADHD and we're like, I need that. I can't have anything below 60 frames per second.
Yeah, I know.
Emulation.
Yeah, I was like that. We would in chiropractic conventions. We would talk about that kind of stuff about kids that they say are ADHD. And it was like they say they can't focus or hold their attention, but it's because things are so slow in class. You put them in front of like a 60 frame per second video game, and you'll never get their attention off that thing.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for like AR and VR has so much potential in education.
Education, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I was the kid who learned hands-on so much better, like infinitely better than reading something in a book, and I'd like reread the same page over and over again. And then like you give me something to put my hands on, and boom, like, oh, that makes so much sense, or
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible what we could do with whole classroom programs.
Or things like
built around
history.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know,
experience the
actually
event.
experiencing it.
You're going to remember it a hell of a lot better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to learn. You wouldn't want to learn. You will want to go in and check about this.
Yeah. So cool.
Definitely.
Okay, so also this year we had Dr. Bebop did the Raft. That was a big one. That was a big mod, and he keeps adding to that. They've got the multiplayer working really well on that now, the way I understand it.
Yeah, with synced hands and
yeah,
which
is no small feat.
It's like a native VR game at this point. He's done an incredible job.
Yeah, he really has. That game, I did not do well at it. I didn't play it very much because I ended up dying. The shark ate me. It was
Yeah.
That was enough for me. I'm terrified of sharks.
It's fun though. I started to play with my brother. I need to.
I think it would be more fun multiplayer for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's always the case. I keep hoping beyond hope that some genius out there is gonna mod multiplayer into Cyberpunk. I just don't know.
I saw some working demos.
Yeah, ages ago.
Yeah.
Ages ago.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why it was dropped, and I don't know. So CD Projekt Red has been pretty good with encouraging modding, and they even hired that team to continue to develop the SDK around that. I can almost imagine if somebody was working on multiplayer, they could help at least some, like, helping to put some of the same hooks that they need to,
I mean, even if
make that happen. But
oh my gosh,
it's a big task. If you look at what it took to get what is it, Skyrim, even the Skyrim multiplayer mod that took 7 years like in the making. So it's a pretty big modding project, especially when it's a single player game and has all these quest systems and all kinds of stuff you need to think. It's not just like, oh, I see your character, but if you actually want it to you play through the story together, that's kind of a different task.
Recently, remember I had talked about, I think this is on the first show even, I talked about how Dying Light was broken. I couldn't get it to work anymore. I did figure out later on, by the way, that it wasn't the game that was broken. It's just that
you, Greg.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. You have to, when it's doing the things that was doing to me, you have to just reset your play space, and then it works. Because I started streaming it with the Quest 2. I was like, why is it working with the Quest 2, but it won't work with the Rift S? And then I started realizing it was the play space thing. I did that, and now it works. But that takes me to the multiplayer part. We've got that functioning. By the way, if you're playing modded and if you're playing with the this is just information for people out there, and if you're playing with the HUD mod, which you pretty much have to have to play in VR because you can't see the HUD at all, and it's really uncomfortable, not fun to play. But this just shrinks it down really nice so you can see everything, and the menus are smaller, so they're a lot easier to read and stuff. You have to share your Service Pack 3. So you have to have the same one of those, or the data pack 3.
The data pack.
Yeah,
service
and
pack,
I sent a link to you, Vrian, I know for that. But yeah, you all have to have that same data pack, or you won't be able to play multiplayer. So just the information of it. But once again, back to the multiplayer. You could do that with Cyberpunk, I would think, because with the way multiplayer works, the way we've been doing it in Dying Light is the quest is the same. You can just pick up the same stuff. So like if I see an axe on the ground or like something that's a quest item, I pick it up and it's there for the other person too to pick up. So, I think that would work.
Still crazy amounts of work. I know that people are adding it to Zelda Breath of the Wild right now, and it's just amazing how much like little stuff you forget about until you actually try to play it, and you're like, oh, that's broken. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of what I say about VR modding. It takes like 10% of the work to get 90% of the way there, and then 90% of the work to get the rest, the other 10%. And that's what I think some people, I guess the only downside I've seen about some of the mods that we've put out is it can make people even feel more entitled. Like, devs, give us this mod. Like, modders did it, and there is a higher, if you're gonna release it officially, there is like a higher quality standard. Not saying devs shouldn't, but I mean, but it is a very complex decision of, is this going to make sense for us as a company?
Cost effectiveness is a huge thing.
And I mean, I would love to see that happen more and more, but people also understand that that like the little things that people get annoyed with, even like Hitman 3, it's that's the kind of thing where right now, like, I would say it's in kind of the state of a good mod. Like it feels kind of like a mod, basically. Like, it doesn't have room scaling, it doesn't have certain features, but it's certainly like, if you ignore stuff, you can still have a lot of fun with it. And then but even then, like, it got kind of heavily review bombed and stuff.
Did you say somebody was working on fixing some of that stuff? Somebody's modding it?
Originally, like, PRAYDOG was digging into it and was thinking about doing a mod, and that was before he got really busy with Unreal Engine. So I'm not sure if he is. Somebody else is using some of the existing modding framework to fix certain things. I think the room scaling is the big thing a lot of people want. So that's basically, right now, if you move, you'll kind of move out of his body in real life. So he's staying in the middle. You can move around and look around, but like, if you move too far, you realize like his body's still over there, and so you can recenter, and it kind of like teleports you back to the.
You couldn't do that,
but you can actually.
You didn't have that problem with PlayStation because you moved your head a tiny bit. You got that stupid blue thing all around you. It's like, go back to your center space. God, that was a terrible port.
So that's the one thing. I think the modder, I'm not sure if the modder who's fixing up stuff would know how to solve that one thing. I think someone like PRAYDOG who knows reverse engineering a bit better might have to do that. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll tackle that. I mean, I still, I think you're kind of in common. Like, there's still a lot of fun to have in seated VR. And sometimes you can like last a lot longer in a play session where, once you're sitting on a cozy chair and just being lost in the world, like, you almost forget about your body, and you're almost like, in some ways, more immersed because you're completely like visually thinking, and you're letting your imagination feel like you're walking in that world.
I wish I could strangle people and just get that into there. Just like, oh, just try it. Stop telling me it's like putting a TV on your head, because it's not.
I recently
even in a third-person game. Even a third-person game. It doesn't matter.
It's so cool. Go ahead,
on our stream, Greg, the other day, we had a conversation with someone that said, well, Dead Space should be first person. I was like,
doesn't
not
need
every
to be.
game should be first person.
It still would love it, but it doesn't need to be.
But there's something about.
But does it like, but would you still have fun with Dead Space in complete VR, 6 dot VR, being able to look around and
Absolutely.
everything be perfect
Oh my
stereoscopic and
gosh,
like
yeah.
yes, it
Yeah.
would still be amazing. So I think
Oh,
yeah, I think there is this kind of like if it doesn't have all these features, then it just shouldn't be
yeah,
done. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's
that's
mainly
wrong.
because people haven't gotten a chance to try it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping PRAYDOG's mod helps that a bit because there are so many games that are so great. Like even out of the box, you don't have to touch anything. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what people mod on top of it, add motion controls to games and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
even right now, I mean, like Jedi Fallen Order is so immersive. The
I
graphics are
bet.
incredible,
Yeah.
and you can play for first person or third, but it's just a incredibly immersive experience, even in third person.
Well, like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII too.
Yeah.
I've talked about that on my stream. How cool it is to just be back there and look and see your characters and just be in there with them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you were a kid and you would
100%.
take your toys and you would play with them like this. You know, walk around. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that. You know,
It is. It is.
it's I don't know.
Actually, I switched to like I like to do a first person when I'm in the cities on Final Fantasy. I switch to a first person and walk around and explore and look around and stuff. That's like really immersive. But then when I'm playing, I think third person would probably work better than first person ever.
Final
would.
Fantasy
Yeah.
VII, you can switch to first person.
I'll have to show.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of. He said it wasn't an option, but if you zoom it all the way and then
Yeah.
it's the Universal Unreal Injector UUU
Oh,
lets you hide the player character.
Okay,
So if you
okay.
zoom in all the way and then use that to hide the player character, it feels
So you
just like a
can.
first
I'm talking.
person.
Yeah, I'm talking about Luke Ross's mod. So
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Using
okay.
Across even that you can create like
Yeah.
a first person that works really well with that.
huh, interesting.
I mean, even Horizon Zero Dawn, I prefer to play third person because I'm like, as an animator, I want to see all that work that was done, and I can still look around, and I'm still in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Yeah.
I need to try
It's
that
Did
with
you
my
see
new
that?
computer.
Did you see that video I shared yesterday of Super 1337?
Yeah, with the slashing
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of those just look so like artistically stylized that it's
Yeah.
just really fun to watch. And yes, it would be a fun game if it was really done well and it was also first person and you could kind of blade and sorcerer style
yeah,
do all that. But I mean, it's different at that point. It's a different game, and so like there's a place for that, and then there's also a place like I had just a lot of fun like playing with that in the third person mode and just visually taking everything in. It was
taking
really cool to
exactly.
see. Yeah.
That should be our shirt. Take everything.
Yeah,
in.
there you go.
No matter if it's third person, first person.
That's too much. Just take everything in. That just keep it simple.
Yeah.
We're doing slogans here. If you start adding
Yes.
too much, it gets ridiculous. Elliott knows this. He's the marketing man. Hey, you had mentioned something a little bit earlier about this is one of my most anticipated mods is Breath of the Wild. How's that one
Mhm.
coming along? Do you know? Have you talked to that guy at all?
Yeah. We keep in touch. He is very, I guess, he's doing a lot. So like he's a lot of like the Breath of the Wild mods he's done. He's worked on Semu itself quite a bit and improved things. And so like VR isn't his main focus. So he just kind of jumps on that for a while as he's like, it's in a pretty awesome state. Even when I last played it, this is like a year and a half ago. And I think he just has a high standard. I think he does want to, like when it does release, he feels good about it. Like I think it could have been something that released even like a year and a half ago, and a lot of people would still have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. It's his thing. So he did say he thought like it should be out before the sequel comes out.
That's
like,
this year.
that's yeah. So that's his goal. We'll see.
That'd be
But,
great. Yeah, that one.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
I've never played the game. I've watched my son play it, and I was like, "This
It's
looks like it
awesome.
would be
It's a great
amazing in
game.
VR."
Yeah.
Yeah, even third
No
person,
way.
but this is first person, isn't it? Isn't he?
Well, it's kind of like Lou Rossi. You can switch between the
Oh,
two.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's up there as one of my all-time favorite games. It's
Nice.
incredible. Like it's kind of like, I don't know. It's one of the. It's kind of like playing VR and then having to go to flat screen. When I play that, and then even going back to like vanilla Skyrim, it feels so limiting because Breath of the Wild, like anything you see, you can climb, you can like it's all physics based. If you see a rock, like roll it down the hill, or create something crazy by stringing balloons to it, and then create a flying machine. Or
Yeah.
I don't know. It just gives you this like freedom with an open world that really the whole time you're playing, you're thinking like, how can I not just even do something that they intended to do, but what's something I could do in this game? Like, what if I did this? Like trying out certain things. It gives you that different way of kind of tackling problems that I think a game that's built around a good like physics engine allows you to do. And
Does he have
that pretty well?
motion controls? Is he putting that in, or is it going to be gamepad?
Gamepad is the plan right now.
That's fine with me.
yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a lot. I would think people talk about motion controls in games like Cyberpunk or motion controls in games like Dying Light, and I'm like, God, there's just so much you do with the gamepad. I think I have no problem playing with the gamepad with those games.
Have you played? I think there probably is more place than we've done so far as kind of an intermediate of like the gesture controls.
I haven't done anything
like,
with those yet.
It's kind of like what even Zelda Skyward Sword did, where like if you swing it left, right, up, down, and you still get that swing to it, but you don't necessarily have that perfect one-to-one, like, and that's way easier to implement. So I think we might see more games have that, but yeah, who knows? I'm really hoping, especially when PRAYDOG UE MOD comes out, that a lot of other people will jump in and want to help build whole motion controls on top of stuff. Pretty excited about the Hogwarts Legacy coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
A week or two, because that should work with PRAYDOG UE MOD.
My God.
And I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so like being able to walk through that castle, even if that's all it is, even if I just get a walk through that thing in VR and take in all the detail, because it looks like there's so much detail in it, I'm gonna be very happy. But yeah, I'll probably dabble in some mods on top of that. But it should work even in its current state.
Awesome. What else?
So
Let's see.
good.
We had
So
Raika
good.
Parda. He was killing it this year too. He had like 3 mods come out. It's like was it Neon White? Is that the name of the one mod?
Yeah, the
And
latest one.
Stanley Parable.
Yeah. And then he did, what is it? Hardship Breaker. He did.
Oh yeah, he did something with the trombone. I don't know what that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun. I've seen some pretty hilarious videos come out from it's certainly a lot of meme potential, but it also I guess it feels good to play. It's like you're really playing a trombone. And,
I need to try that. I haven't tried that one.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, he picks
Guitar Hero.
really interesting games to mod. I mean, most games I would never even consider playing. But, for me, if it's in VR, I'll give it a shot because I usually like it better anyway. But I haven't tried the Neon White yet. Stanley Parable was hilarious.
Mhm.
That was a
Has
good
very
time.
Dry humor. It's really funny. Neon White is, I think that's his favorite. I haven't had time to play it as much as I want, but it's really addicting. That like that speedrunner type thing where you feel just like a badass running through the levels, pulling off, new records, and it feels really good. Everything feels really solid in VR, and surprisingly, don't get motion sick playing it. Even so, I think I think he did a really good job on that. Hellsinger, have you played that yet?
I have not. That's
That's
the rhythm
fun.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
that feels
Ben
really
did a
good to play.
video on that. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, I don't know, the roots. I actually started getting into the modding scene with starting the Beat Saber community, so that tells you something with my roots of rhythm games. But
Yeah.
I really want a Until You Fall rhythm game. Like, I think that would, if you took Until You Fall, built like a Skyrim world out of it, and then even had like a rhythm game elements where you're dodging and, you know, slashing to the rhythm. I think I've got my list of dream games.
What did somebody did something? It's that Joyway.
They did. Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I can't remember the name of the game. I never played it. I
Against.
downloaded it. Against. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, because they had like shooting and swinging the sword.
The black and white kind of
a noir look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noir, yeah.
Yeah.
We had FM Pwn this year. Launched the long-awaited Levitation, which is one of the most amazing things I've ever played in as a Half-Life mod. Yeah.
It's just like that almost being able to play Half-Life Alyx over again. Like, if you could get that opportunity, which is like pretty awesome. And
it had a good amount of difficulty to it, which I loved.
Yeah.
You know, because Alyx was, even on hard, it's just too easy. I played when I streamed Levitation when it came out, and I put it on hard mode. I was like, well, I wanted it as hard as I could get it, and so I put it on there, and I almost rage quit at the second to the last boss. You know, where you have all those lasers and those damn man hacks coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
That's really hard on hard.
I always think of those whenever I see difficulty modes. Did you ever play the original Wolfenstein 3D?
No, I did not.
No.
Those were, I forget the difficulty names, but it's like the easy was called like Daddy, Can I Play?
Yeah.
It had like a pacifier, and then like the other ones, it was just like Death Incarnate.
Well, yeah. I was, and then once I beat that boss, when I finally got through it, I got down to the bottom, and I had like 1 tick of health left. And the little station on that mode that has the bug in it doesn't have a bug in it, so you have no health. So I had to get rid of all those Columbine in that next room, or Combine.
Yeah.
I could see how I could do that.
Freudian slip there.
But with 1 tick, so I would like kill a guy and then save, and then kill a guy and then save.
Limitless.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah. Did you ever play those emulators that you can do like save state? I don't know if you played, you know, you can just save it in the exact moment.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but I've played emulators that have that.
You use that saving method to get through some hard games.
I needed that at the beginning.
Yeah.
I needed that at the beginning of Dead Space. That first room where you've got to get those arms to bring the tram out. I fought that for about 40 minutes, I think. It's like, I just want to save now.
Oh, that's funny.
Team Beef really nailed it this year too, which is funny because I had contacted Simon about being on the show, and he was like, well, you know, I'm just taking a break from VR. I just, you know, we've been working really hard and blah, this and that. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything. And then like the next week, I was like, oh, Team Beef has 3 mods coming out. It's like, what?
Yeah, I think the poor guy, I think he deserves a really long break, but like, as soon as he gets a break, he's like, well, let me just like,
maybe I could do this.
You know, just look at this for a little bit, just for you know, shits and giggles. Let's just, you know,
yeah,
see. And then all of a sudden he's like sucked in, and then he's spending like thousands more hours making some other big mod. Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, what do you have? They had the Jedi Knights, Wraith,
Bendy, Wraith.
Was there something else? Is there something I'm missing? Did
Duke Nukem.
the Duke Nuke? But
He
that
did Duke
Duke
Nukem
Nukem, yeah.
over Christmas break.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I haven't played that
Duke
one.
Nukem.
Yeah,
I
that's
should
pretty
probably
cool.
try that one. I'm always interested to try these old games in VR because I could not play them flat screen when they came out. I would get sick every time. And I'm pretty sure it was because the frame rates were so low on them. But now that I have fighter pilot VR legs, I could handle anything. It'd be interesting to see if I could handle it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Interesting.
And then of course the one of the biggest pinnacles of 2002 would have to be Half-Life 2 VR.
Half-Life 2.
I can't say enough of that one. And episode 1, as far as 2023 is coming along, is going to be out very soon. They said in the first quarter. I talked to Wormslayer about this a couple days ago, and he's like, it's ready to go. They're just waiting on Valve to approve it. So it's going to be out, anytime, which is really, really exciting news.
And not too far either for episode 2. That's certainly on the timeline. It's just a matter of there was a lot of things that were fixed that the team is kind of focused on next after releasing Half-Life VR to fix just a huge change. Like, I don't know, that should actually be posted publicly. I know Kabbalistic does a good job of showing change logs, but yeah, it's amazing how many little touches have gone into it. And I think waiting a bit to release the episode will give people a chance to, because all those changes are going back into the episodes also. So not only did those need a little bit of touching up, but all those kind of improvements from when it first released. And then Wormslayer is still doing some awesome work on the new textures. And
I was talking to him a bit about that too.
So he's got I don't know if you played the beta of that, but it looks pretty stunning.
Yeah, it does. It looks gorgeous. Yeah. That's exciting stuff. Half-Life 2. What are the numbers? Do we know how many of those downloaded? How many people downloaded that game?
I could look that up. I'd have to log into the TeamWorks page, but I'll do that a little bit later. I mean, it was it's pretty significant. I mean, even now, if you look at Steam Looking for Gamer site, it's on the 10 consistently most played PC VR experience.
That's so awesome.
It certainly holds its own.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah. That mod is one of the best mods I've ever played. It's just so flawless. It doesn't feel like a mod at all. The motion controls are perfect. It's just amazing. I love what they did with the airboat and with the Doom buggy, because when I first played the game, I played it through Gary's mod, and I could not do the airboat and the Doom buggy in Gary's mod. The airboat made me instantly sick, and the Doom buggy was so violently bouncy that you couldn't see where you were at. So I had to skip all of that stuff and be able to play through it in VR. That's
a big part of the game.
Big chunk of the game, so, especially that Doom buggy takes forever to get through that area.
Yeah.
But walking.
And of course, there's more. I don't know. We talked about being able to pull out your arm and being able to steer with that and some other things, but it's amazing how just some tweaking, knowing okay, here's what you're up against with VR, kind of the limitations when you flip in your dune buggy. If you're attached to the seat and you just see the world start flipping, you're gonna get sick. But let's leave it to the normal height, and then it just flip around you basically. You still get that sense that you're flipping without.
Yeah, that was nice. They did that with the boat too. So when you did a barrel roll or whatever. Yeah,
you're not actually.
Your head isn't like. I probably could have handled that, but I think for me, originally the thing that made me so sick is that first of all, I was playing with Vive wands. I was trying to steer with touch pads, but they were so touchy. But a bump. But you barely touch anything, and the boat would just go crazy. It was just so floaty, and it was really, really tough to deal with. But no, I'm really excited about really excited about
Those,
the
yeah,
episodes.
for sure.
They're just incredible. I haven't played episode 2 ever because with Gary's mod it didn't work really well. I started it and there were just a lot of bugs and it looked kind of funny, so I never continued on. So I'm really excited to actually
Well,
play through that.
that's a treat waiting for you then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because I've heard
um,
it's like it's the best out of all of them. So
it's fun. Yeah.
Episode 2.
yeah,
Well, but both episodes are great.
yeah,
And then, yeah, who knows what the team, I mean, post that, wanted to tackle some other Valve games. So nothing set in stone, but Portal is definitely on the list
hmm
of ones to look at. So that's another one that have to build some like motion sick friendly options in there. But I think, I don't know, Valve apparently tried it at one point and just immediately wrote it off like, no, this wouldn't work. Same thing with Half-Life 2. And I think there's like, as the overwhelming positive reviews have shown, I think there's so much place to just kind of rework, tweak some stuff, and then give even some modes. Like we do have the third person mode on Half-Life 2 for the vehicles where like if you're completely sick, you can get a perfectly still thing and just see your boat in front of you and it's just moving. And that, like, even if you're super, motion sickness prone, that does really well. So there's stuff like that you can it work with the limitations. I think it's kind of unfortunate that they just just wrote it off really quickly. But
I think people were just too scared of it, and there's still people out there like that. I mean, God, I remember a while back there was like a 3-day long conversation between you and Denny from Cloudhead, all on, because I was involved with that one too, and I just gave up because it's because he's just dead set against anything. You never let the camera get taken over. It's like, I remember one time with Resident Evil 2, or 7 or 8, I'd said something about the PSVR version, saying I really hope that they don't lock us into those cinematic screens for the cutscenes because they're so amazing in VR. Because I'd already experienced them, and he's like, "Oh no, they should never do that." Like, well, why can't we just have the option? Don't default it. Just give those of us that enjoy that the option.
Yeah. I do wish more. I think he himself does struggle with motion sickness, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Ever, I don't know his story. I don't know if most people I know, if they just do like 10 minutes a day and they can kind of push and grow those VR legs if they do it consistently. I know some people tried a couple games, but you have to do it every day. Like it has to be a consistent thing for the first couple weeks, and then you kind of grow it. A lot of people, it could be his experience. You try and you played something for 45 minutes and then you just felt sick, but you went from 0 to 60, and then you're like, oh, maybe I've gotten better, and you try it again in a month from now, and then you still get that way. Like you really have to grow those VR legs if that motion sickness is a issue. I don't know if there could be people that just never can get over it, and that is unfortunate. And we try to build options, and options are great. So I mean, I love how like Half-Life Alyx, you can play teleport, and then you can still do smooth movement, smooth snap turning, or smooth, like those are just awesome to have, and it kind of allows a wide range of people to enjoy it in different ways. But just to say never do
it's not the best practices.
I was playing Hellsinger, and it's just such an amazing experience because it does have smooth like imagine Pistol Whip, but you could run around the levels and you're jumping over on the sides and shooting, and I was like, this is way better. But I don't think Denny would ever consider like we're just going to do a straight line and we're just going to put you on that rail that you're kind of going through, and it's super fun still. I think he's found a good combination that works for that kind of arcade style. But anyway, there's so much fun to be had in other experiences too, that like smooth locomotion is just, I think, limiting to kind of think that most of the world couldn't handle VR.
Yeah, I actually am stunned. The thing that shocks me is how many people don't get motion sick. That's what blows me away. Because, I mean, for me, VR, when I first did it, there's smooth locomotion, no way. There's no way I could have handled it. Took me, God, a long time before I could do smooth turning.
Yeah.
It's just,
But you can grow the, for most people I've ever met, like, as long as they were told the right way to do it, like I said, like, don't push it too much. Don't only stop when you're feeling sick, but just do it like 10 minutes a day before you even start getting it, and you grow those VR legs. Most people I know, I've actually never met anyone that I like helped through that process and not be completely fine with it. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, maybe that's it. People don't know how to learn that well.
maybe
I did do a lot of research when I was working with Zenith, just saying, is because we have flight and, all kinds of systems where you can fly, and there isn't even a teleport option. Just saying, like, how much is going to affect the user base, and it really, like, the data that came out from all the research I did was really surprising, just how little that stopped people from enjoying it. So I think proper research hasn't been made public, maybe on some of those. People always have their own little case studies, but like data from a bigger scope of people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's what's your sample size? What are we looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's we can talk about that forever. But okay, so
you had some experiences of that you were a little bit dizzy, like recently from different. I don't remember which games, but there was at least one that maybe the frame rate was, or the quality was a little bit off. So
there was a game I was playing. Oh, I think it was Bendy. And I had to stop, so I was getting queasy, but it was mostly because I was so hungry. And hunger in VR.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's just
hunger,
like,
yeah.
I was like, I can't. I gotta eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't play VR in an empty stomach.
No.
So yeah, there's also tricks like that. Making sure you're eating well. You're not
have water.
Drinking well.
Yeah.
Water is very important. Maybe a fan going on you. Fan can almost eliminate any motion sickness.
And in Cyberpunk, it's awesome because when you're on the motorcycle, it feels like you're actually on a motorcycle.
Yeah. I've got a Vornado that has Amazon Alexa. So I was playing with, like, programming that a bit to only blow when, like, you jumped on the motorcycle.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really yeah. I didn't realize anything.
Oh, that's so geeky. I love it. I do the same kind of thing. I just put that fan on there. It's like, I'm playing Cyberpunk. I need my fan.
Yeah, or you just turn the on button. But hey, mine, the game triggers it. Sends it all the way through the internet down to my
That's
fan.
amazing.
Okay, so we saved the biggest question for last. And I mean, this is the one everybody wants to know. We really didn't. We've talked a lot about it, but we haven't talked about this. But is there like a window that we can expect for the PRAYDOG Injector? It's like a time frame.
I don't want to speak for PRAYDOG, and I think the biggest thing with him is, like, when you put a exact deadline, then it can
that's why,
suck
like,
some of the fun out of it. Where I think every time PRAYDOG does make a big update, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad he didn't release before now, because now this makes it so much better. And then like another update, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. So he's had a very, like, exact list of features he's wanted. I will say it looks very close to all those things on his initial list being done. So I think it's very close. And
I could deal with that.
Very close.
Yeah, it is pretty fantastic.
So we're talking within this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
well, yeah, there you go.
Much closer.
I was thinking hours, and you're talking about
yeah. Surprise! It launches today.
Surprise!
hours. Very close. That means hours.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also, if you want to keep update, you can see hourly changes he's making. As soon as he pushes out something on GitHub, a new build, it'll show exactly what he added and stuff like that. So I think you probably read through that. You can scroll through that on the Discord and see, like, most of the stuff are things most people won't even know what the heck it is, but you can see, you know, just how much thought he puts into building these mods and making it be an amazing experience. And these are very like so like one thing was he wanted it to support every single Unreal Engine version, basically, like from the very beginning to the end. And that was one of his goals. Like before it releases, he wants to support it. And every engine that updated, you know, changed quite a bit of stuff. So it was like adding support to handle those different engine versions.
So you mean more than 4 and 5?
Well,
3.
so what people don't realize is like even the difference between 4 and 5, they did so much marketing around 5, but I mean, really 5 is just Unreal Engine 4, but you know,
better
tacked on, and they changed it. But like all between Unreal Engine 4, the first version, all the way to like 4.27 on, all those are still pretty major changes. Just they did less marketing between it, but there are a lot of like big differences between those engine versions, and so some of that was supporting that range of, okay, you know, version 4.29 works, but then they changed something in 4.3, so then you know, then I need to handle it differently.
Okay, so we're not talking about being able to go back to 3 then.
Engine 3 was actually very different. That they actually didn't even own all the source code. They used a lot of third-party stuff when they built 3. And then 4 was a big change because Epic Games, like 100% was their code, and it was the first time they made it open source, even or source code available. And then so yeah, it's 4, like beginning of 4 on to 4, 5, and I think we'll see 5 for many years to come. But so part of that was that, and then even like little things like some games had like a slight stutter every like 30 seconds or so. That, like, for most people, when you're playing a mod, you wouldn't even like really notice it. But some of it was him figuring out a better place to hook the frame, where it actually synced in time better, and that made like ASW work better if you want to use like motion smoothing. Before that kind of screwed it up because the timing wasn't 100% correct. So some of these are just like things he wanted to do, and then also being in a better place for modding. Like when it releases, I think that good state like it's in now, where modders can see the template of like how to add motion controls and build it from there. It's in a good place that momentum when it releases will kind of cause people to have places to do that kind of thing with. I think if it was released early, and I think you know, without places for other modders to get involved, kind of that momentum would have died down a bit in wanting to get involved, when, you know, like the only answer is, well, you know, there isn't a place for you to add anything at this point, but check back later. I think, you know, you would have lost a lot of that. So I think we're in a really good place where it'll release and people, like, the sky's the limit. You can play it, have
that's so exciting,
a ton of fun in its current state, and then
Amazing.
if you want to add features, you can. It's even connected with some other Unreal modders. There's some really cool tools that have come out even in the past like month by some other people. So there's one that actually, it's almost like Chrome DevTools. You can actually see in real time live all the blueprints that are happening, and you can actually like change things and you can add code right there and test it in real time. So that just makes like modding so much easier compared to having to build something and then restart the game and test it, and then being able to just test something. Does it work? Okay, cool.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
anyway, we're at a very cool place where I'm just so excited to see once it releases what people do with it. And
Yeah.
and I mean, it's one of those things like for us, we could probably be, even if nobody does anything, we could be happy for the rest of our life just with all the stuff
So
out
many
there because it
games.
works. Yeah, I know.
It's just endless. It's endless, really.
Yeah.
So
especially the way
one
I play.
huge breakthrough this past week, I'll just mention, was so the main way the mod works, it's actually using the stereoscopic VR code that Epic Games built in the engine. So it uses that render pipeline and is just like, if you actually added an official VR port into your game. So it's running that whole system, and it does take advantage of some performance things. So it's not like it's cutting the frame rate in half per se. It does use some of, like, it renders the left eye and then uses some of that information to render the right eye. So you're getting quite a bit better performance than having to, like, alternate eye rendering is like literally splitting frame rate in half where you're having to do the left and right. But then PRAYDOG added a completely new way of rendering for the games that have like shaders that are broken using the
I saw you
method. So even if
mentioning that.
yeah, even if you look at just so much at like official Unreal Engine code, what works with VR, there's all kinds of like, this shader doesn't work, you can't use that. Like MetaHumans, the hair system only show up in one eye, even if you're using the official thing. So he's built something that works even better than official Epic Games stuff in some ways. Wow. Because it all shows up perfectly in VR. So it does keeps the same a lot, like 99% of the rendering pipeline, but then it only generates one camera and then uses an alternate eye rendering, but it's not sending the alternate eye rendering like split times into your eye. It does one, shifts it, grabs that second scene, all happening with one engine tick, and then sending them both at the same time to your eye. So it's kind of working around some of those limitations by doing that, but that makes compatibility like 100%. So even if a game you've probably experienced with like Vorpex broken shaders, so that's the kind of thing you could experience. Now you can just flip a toggle and you get a little bit worse performance, but on some niche game that like would have had to do all this custom work to help fix the shaders and that kind of thing, like it's 100% working just like that. So
I had that even happen with Resident Evil 2 with the 12 or the DX12 version with the mod, where like Leon would come in. I was playing with Claire and Leon came in the thing, and on one eye I could see his full thing, but like in my other eye it was just like his hands and his head, and it like all of his clothes was gone. And that's really weird. It's like, what's going on?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, VR is just complicated when you're dealing with two perspectives, and it has to be synced. So even, like I said, the official Unreal even has things that just plain they'll say like doesn't work with VR yet, and maybe they'll add that later. But anyway, PRAYDOG has done the impossible, and created,
we're really excited. This is great news. Great news. It should excite all of you out there that hey, it's coming really soon. And you're going to be able to just sit down and play, like have a massive library of AAA games that you can play in VR. Man,
have you seen that list I
exciting.
Put together? I mean, there's I keep adding it to all the time, and there's even way more that are out there. But I mean, it's thousands of games, and hundreds of like AAA, and then even if you look at what's coming out, it's The new Tomb Raider is Unreal Engine 5. The new Witcher is Unreal Engine 5. The
New Cyberpunk.
Cyber. I don't know if they
Yeah,
announced any
that's
Unreal Engine 5 stuff.
the new Cyberpunk is Unreal Engine 5 too, because CDPR has gone away from Red Engine. Everything they're doing now is on Unreal Engine 5. So
I think the expansion pack will still be on there.
the new expansion pack, yeah, that's going to still be on. But yeah, everything. I'm talking after 2077.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, but there. It seems like so many of the new BioShock is Unreal Engine 5. Anyway, it's just pretty much any big AAA, like so many of them are moving to Unreal Engine 5. And so even past the thousands that are already made, it's exciting that we're going to have a future where a game like Hogwarts Legacy comes out, and then like the very day it comes out, we can play
just play it in VR.
Yeah.
VR.
It's insane. Yeah. People
We don't need
will
to
be
beg
blown
for
away
devs
when somebody
anymore.
makes a video and it's like fully VR mod that's as like it looks like it's like it looks like it was always made to be VR, the way it's handling everything, and that's like the day it came out, people are going to be pretty blown away when I think they see just that, like that power that it can do.
Yeah, and I'm waiting with bated breath for all the comments in the section, but it's just a mod. Because they'll be there. It's just a mod.
Oh, yes, of course. They have to.
Somebody said that the other day about, I was on a Facebook group. They were talking about PRAYDOG's mods. Like, yeah, but it's just a mod. It's like, dude, come on. This is a miracle.
Yeah. And
This is
some of it,
mod, though.
and like that really means nothing, because I don't know, he's writing code just like if he worked officially for the Hogwarts Legacy team and was building it, and so I think that distinction really shouldn't be made. I mean, he's probably, I think I've said it before, but like his talent, most people are like, oh, I hope like some little studio hires him because this is awesome. I'm like, I don't think they could afford him. Like, he's doing this because he's passionate about it and giving something amazing to the VR community, but we don't deserve a PRAYDOG.
No, he's great. Yeah, him, Luke Rod, all these guys, all of these modders, they do amazing work. They do God's work, and God bless them, because I mean, yeah, they've kept me playing this last year. I didn't buy any VR games this last year. So like I see them, I'm like, I like I like the AAA games.
Yeah.
I think I bought Moss 2 just because I
didn't buy that one.
Was great.
I didn't buy that one, but
yeah,
I have Moss 1. I've never played it, so.
They're both really. I played them both, one after the other, back to back, just recently. They're amazing.
Yeah, I did the same
really
thing.
are.
I have to do that sometime.
I think there's less content than a typical game, but if you can play both of them back to back, it feels like finally you get like a cool, meaty sized game.
Cool.
And it's Unreal Engine. There's some pretty great graphics in it too. So.
Yeah. And again, because I'm an animator, that Richard Lyko, who's the guy who animated and rigged Quill,
there's so many little touches. I love the way
Quill,
it's like reaches out and waves or like shows emotion, and they did a
really
great
good
job
thought
like,
of VR.
Yeah,
like that interaction that she looks at you and it's like, oh my God, she's alive. She's right there. She's right there. She's looking at me. I want to hold her.
Yeah.
That's the strength, the power of VR.
It is. It's great stuff. Okay, guys. I think that's good for an episode. We got a lot in.
Do I
You don't want to talk about
answer some questions? Twitter questions?
Yeah, sure. We could do that. We could answer some Twitter questions.
Most of them are PRAYDOG's questions, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think we probably covered most of them. Verified Games asked what constitutes a VR mod. And I think that is hard. I think I've had to kind of create my own definition of like what is VR. Am I still there? Wait a second. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. sorry. What is like VR? And I think it is very subjective. Like, is it 6 DoF? Is it 3 DoF? Some people are playing Luke Ross's mods without stereoscopic.
I
I'm not
don't know
sure
how the heck
why
you
they
do
love that so
Yeah.
much, but I mean, I guess it's kind of cool. But to me, like the stereoscopic is such an important part.
Mhm.
When you're building proper VR, it's not just even the two views. So like if you took Geo 11 in its current state, where it's still even rendering stereoscopic, and you're not properly setting the IPE, you're doing the view matrices so that like when you're turned, they're moving properly. If it's just stuck in its current state, it is going to look really weird. And that's where even Vorpex can look a bit odd, because it's not setting some of those lower
Yeah, because it just feels like the
engine
image
things.
is kind of stuck to your head. It doesn't quite work right.
Yeah, and so when
That's
you
why Black Mesa
feel the
blows me
difference a lot
away.
of times
Yeah, because
when
it
it's
looks more
properly
real.
done versus just like a kind of a light state of a VR mod. To me, a lot of times, if it's almost like the uncanny valley. Like if you get so close but it's not quite there, it can even feel worse. You're just like,
Yeah.
it's teasing me. Like it's almost VR, but it just feels off. And like if movement isn't 1-to-1, which, you know, if I move in, it feels like I'm actually moving the exact amount that I am in real life. If, you know, even a lot of vortexes just moving the mouse. So if you move your head, it doesn't feel quite one-on-one. Like you are
Mhm.
kind of moving and you can kind of adjust it and kind of get close, but like it just doesn't feel quite there. So I say, like, I put it in different categories. You've got like your um stereoscopic injectors like Geo 11, which is amazing, just for creating the left and eye view. And then Vorpex really is like a stereoscopic injector that has some cool features built on. And then Ralph has made some full mods from it. So like
Like the Cyberpunk
his
mod.
Cyberpunk mod
Yeah.
is, I would say, is a full mod, because he did go and get some of those lower level engine things and make it proper for your headset. So that, like, not to say that nothing in Vorpex is like, he has the ability to make a mod, and he has like certain games spent extra time and made that 1-to-1 movement. But out of the box, for what Vorpex does, just to inject on it, it's mainly just a stereoscopic driver that does some extra cool stuff like moving the mouse with your head and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say that's a mod. I would say, like, if you're properly hooking all of the um, I guess the eyes, using the view matrix, doing properly handling the way that VR does all those calculations and movement is there's a whole series of, I guess, lots of math. Like if you look at the source code of some of these mods, there's a lot of math, and it's kind of a standard way of, this is how native VR feels, and it's using all of that, um, and when it happens, you know it immediately. Like this feels native, because
Yeah.
it's doing all those calculations. So anything not doing all that, I wouldn't really say it's a full mod. It's more of like
It's an experience you could have in VR. It's
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
you know it's I don't
And there
know.
is exciting
Yeah.
things. So talking to the creator of Geo 11, which they have all these games that they have spent time fixing the shaders on both eyes, and so far, like, you couldn't build a full VR mod, what I would call a VR mod, with Geo 11 yet, because some of those calculations don't have ability. It's not open source yet, so don't have the ability to make those um, make that math happen. But the creator of Geo 11 is um, he said in February he should have some time to add that basically to the SDK, and that should allow us to have a pathway to, like, instead of alternate eye rendering, could use Geo 11 to get like the synced eye from that. So that's pretty exciting.
That's cool.
But anyway, so I would say, like, okay, for a full VR mod, all that handled correctly, and then at least like sixed off, proper stereoscopic, and then ideally you're also handling the UI separately from
Yes.
the game, and that's a big thing. Like if you've noticed, like Luke Ross's mods, you've got the game world properly, put in, and then the UI is actually a completely separate layer that's in front of you, and so you can actually see the parallax happening if you move, and like compared to Vorpex of just showing like the actual flat screen game, but it's in stereoscopic, so you have like
So you have to like go into Edge Peak just to read your menus.
just even see the UI.
Yeah.
So it's not doing anything that separates that out. So that's a big thing. So I don't know if I would say that has to be done, but that's a big thing that any good mod like Luke Ross is doing. PRAYDOG, of course, has done all that really well.
Reichen Potter did a great job. He's done a great job with UI on his too.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't say motion controls need to be. That's
they don't have to be there.
No,
but it's always a bonus.
A plus.
If it is,
yeah.
But to be like what I would announce as like this is a VR mod, having to have at least all the proper math going on, stereoscopic wise, definitely stereoscopic, not mono, fixed off, and at least using proper like OpenXR, OpenVR, and all that is sent correctly. So like if you change your IPD, it is properly adjusting in the game. It's reading all that data from the compositor to make sure it handles well.
Yeah, I think that's another thing too. Is it should, to be a proper VR mod, I think it has to be like if it's duct taping together a bunch of little things, like if you're using an emulator over here, or you're using an injector over here, and you're doing this little, it's not, if you've got to use all of that stuff, that's just that's tinkering with it, and it's making it fun for you and everything, but it's not a mod. You can't just download that, put it in your files, and then you play it. You've got to do a whole bunch of crap to get it to work. And then your experience is kind of
then it's still that uncanny valley of like, if it's not doing all that properly, then it's just like, oh, it's so close but so far, and it's just making me just want to play in flat screen rather than even, I don't know, sometimes I feel that it's just a tease when you get so close but it's so far. It still can be a lot of fun, and I don't want to put any shade on Vorpex or even anything like that. Like, you can have a lot of fun still with it, but it's very different than an actual VR mod. So that's a lot of hard work. I don't want to take that away from the people actually doing VR mods, where they're doing this extremely complex stuff and pulling it off. You said what separates from your injection? I think maybe that was a mistake to call PRAYDOG's like an injection mod, because people are like, oh, it's just an injection mod. I'm not really sure.
Well, they're instantly thinking about Vorpex when they hear that.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
But like PRAYDOG's is very much a full mod, just like any other mod. It's, hooking the code, but very like on any game you do, it's just like Resident Evil, in the sense that it's hooking everything, handling everything, and every mod in a sense is an injection. Like, it's injecting code into the game. So, but it's it's properly creating VR, not just maybe the difference they're thinking injection is where they're just working with the graphic API. So like just from DirectX, creating stereoscopic from that, like Vorpex does. So maybe that's what they're thinking, but this is actually going deep into the game, working with like even the native VR code in that, or with Resident Evil, he created all the VR code, but it is
Mm-hmm.
proper VR code, like how you would write it if you were creating officially for Resident Evil. Like it would be that similar thing. It's not any different than if you were officially writing VR support for it. So, yeah. Immersive Gamer said, would PRAYDOG ever wish to monetize his work officially, working with Epic if given the chance? Again, we don't deserve PRAYDOG. I'm not sure why he's this amazing.
He has a
does
Patreon, right?
He does have a Patreon only
Yeah.
because, like, I made him make one. And people begged, like, how do we show support? But, I mean, he fully plans on making it open source when it releases. And
That's so
people
cool.
can take it and,
There's
yeah.
nothing to take for granted.
That's
It's
so
like-
much
Yeah.
work. So much work.
What does he do for a day job? He is a professional, like, reverse engineer. I think works for. He's like a professional hacker, basically. I think. Yeah. Let's see. Dead Space VR first person mod release soon. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. Let's
Was
see
it
if
the
we've got
dead?
any-
What we were talking about? Dead Space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody else about that.
We brought that up.
Yeah.
Everything else is PRAYDOG.
Yeah.
PRAYDOG release, please.
Yeah, I told you that was going to be the big one. That's all anybody wants.
Yeah.
When we were on that other
Okay.
podcast, they're like, when's PRAYDOG's thing coming out? That's what we all want to know.
Yep.
Let's cut the bullshit. What about PRAYDOG? All the lists, Cyberpunk, and then just give us that.
Yeah, you could. We'll
Yeah,
have a
it's
whole bunch to talk about when that thing comes out.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Well, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. I'm good. You got any other questions, Brian? Think we're good?
No. like-
Okay. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot, but so many great. We have such an exciting future coming to us here very, very, very soon. AER. Yeah. AER2 for Cyberpunk was like my biggest thing. We've got PRAYDOG's mod coming very soon. We don't know when, but it's coming. Don't worry. Yeah, just tons. I can't wait to see what else this year brings us, but it's already starting off to be a banger just like last year's was. So, yeah, that's it for us. Hey, make sure you hit like and subscribe and click on the little bell thingy, and so you know when it's coming. You can listen to us on Spotify, and we're on Apple Podcasts too, if you want to listen to us. And thank you, Elliott, so much for joining us again. You always bring up so much great stuff and just so much information, and it's just always awesome to have you. Thank you very much, guys. That's it for us. Stick in for the next one. Dr. Greg, out.
See you in episode
See ya.
2, season 2.
Yep.